Hey students, I hope things are going well after another week. I have to tell you, I'm sure beginning to start to love each of you. It's kind of weird. I don't see you. I don't get to talk to you very often. Sometimes I don't even quite associate your name with your work as you turn in assignments or on discussion posts. I usually see a face there, but as I've been reading your work and reading through discussions and looking at all you're doing, I'm beginning to feel a love for each of my students out there in the cyber world. I hope your day's going great. I hope your week's going well. Don't ever hesitate to email me with a question or concern. You've probably read through or seen there's some 7 items that I have for you that I want to remind you of. I wanted to emphasize on the late work. We've reached a point now that we're going to have to start docking grades for that work that's not late, merely because of the need to keep students more accountable and on track. Some of us have fallen quite behind, and I'm feeling for you. And if there's extenuating circumstances, don't ever hesitate to let me know, and I'll help in whatever way I can. But as we talk about prophet succession, I wanted to just kind of introduce you to the original first presidency and quorum of the 12. You'll notice that Hiram Smith, right next to Joseph Smith, was an assistant president of the church at this time in 1838 through 1844. It's kind of interesting. And in 1844, when Joseph Smith and Hiram are killed, we have the very first time that prophet succession will take place in the latter days, something we're studying about. Well, the 2 counselors, as you saw them fade out of the screen, they've apostatized and had left the church, and so we're left with these body of men, except for Willard Richards and John Taylor, who are, John Taylor is severely injured in the martyrdom of Joseph. Willard Richards is fleeing for his life, but will return to Nauvoo. And then we have Hiram Page has kind of left the church at this point. We also have William Smith, Joseph Smith's younger brother, who's made some poor choices, to say the least, and he's out of the picture as well, having been excommunicated from the church. And so, in a realignment, this was the quorum of the 12 after the death of Joseph Smith, as 2 apostles were called, and Elder Francis is one of those, and Brigham Young is now the president of the quorum of the 12, but they had no idea what to do. Of course, we know that in about 11 years they'll officially, it wasn't quite that long actually, in winter quarters they will officially deem President Brigham Young as the prophet of the church. But they were a little unsure of how that was to take place. Well, we just experienced this back in 2005, I believe, when President Hinckley passed away. What happens when that happens? The first presidency automatically goes back into the quorum of the 12. A lot of people have the misconception that people in the first presidency determine who the next prophet is. That's not true. First presidency has absolutely nothing to do with who the next prophet line is. So as President Monson happened to be in the first presidency, he assumed his position back in the apostleship, where he was the longest ordained apostle. You see my mouse clicker here. President Monson himself was called as an apostle shortly before Elder Packer and had been called way before all these other men. If you look at the dates, he was called in 1963. Elder Packer, 1970, 1974. James E. Faust is no longer with us, 1978. But you can see from this that this is when they were called to serve as apostles. Now we have 2 additional apostles. This isn't up to date. I just wanted to illustrate what happened when President Hinckley died. So President Monson fulfilled his place as the prophet because he was the president of the 12, and the president of the 12 always becomes the next prophet. I want to say that one more time. The president of the 12 always becomes the next prophet. And of course, he could have done this. That could have been possible. And we've seen now that he's called Elder Irene and Elder Uchtdorf, but that could have been what happened. So when he passes away, who would be the next prophet today? Well, it would be Boyd K. Packer. Now granted, Elder Worthland has passed away and Elder Faust has passed away. But next in line would be Elder Packer, because he is the president of the 12 and the longest ordained apostle currently in the church. So, just kind of a fun thought. That could happen maybe someday, couldn't it? Well, I want you to look at Doctrine and Covenants section 43, verse 5 through 7 with me, just really fast. This was a revelation to the Lord's church, and where the Lord told the church, specifically the elders of the church, in verse 5, "And this shall be a law unto you, that you receive not the teachings of any that shall come before you as revelations or commandments. And this I give unto you, that you may not be deceived, that you may know that they are not of me. For verily I say unto you, that He that is ordained of me shall come in at the gate and be ordained as I have told you before. That's a key phrase. To come in at the gate and be ordained as I have told you before. Key phrase. For example, when did President Hinckley first enter in at the gate? The moment he was called to be a 12 apostle. If you look back at the scripture, they will always come in at the gate and be ordained as I have told you. They won't come in any other way as a prophet in these the latter days. Therefore, the first presidency, the president of the 12 will always become the prophet. So, I thought this was kind of fun. This is where President Hinckley was when he was called to be the prophet, or an apostle, and he had eventually become the prophet. Class, I hope that this gives you some insight. I hope you have a great week as you study and learn more about succession and look to and think about who's next in line and what could happen. Hopefully President Monson will be with us a long time, but I want to leave you with my testimony that I know that this scripture is true in Doctrine and Covenants 43 verse 7, that those will be ordained of me and come in at the gate. Sorry for the long video. I hope this is helpful. May you have a great week. Don't hesitate to ask me questions. Hey, take care. Bye-bye.